Hello and welcome. Have you ever walked into a room full of people and felt your heart start racing? Have you ever wanted to approach someone interesting, but the words just wouldn't come out? Or maybe you've been in a conversation where awkward silence fell and you had absolutely no idea what to say next. If you've experienced any of these situations, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world struggle with social confidence, and the challenge becomes even greater when you're communicating in English as a second language. But here's the good news. Confidence in conversation is not something you're born with. It's a skill you can develop, practice, and master. Today, we're going to explore practical strategies that will help you talk to anyone with confidence. Whether you're at a networking event, a casual party, meeting new colleagues, or simply trying to make small talk with a neighbor, these techniques will transform the way you communicate. And as a bonus, by listening to this lesson and practicing these conversation skills, you'll also be improving your English fluency naturally. So grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's dive into the art of confident conversation. Part 1. Understanding the root of social anxiety. Before we jump into techniques, let's understand why conversations can feel so intimidating in the first place. The fear of talking to people stems from three main sources. First, there's the fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think of us. Will they find us boring? Will they notice our accent? Will we say something stupid? This fear activates our brain's ancient defense mechanisms, the same ones that kept our ancestors safe from physical threats. Second, there's the pressure of performance. When speaking English as a non-native speaker, you might feel like you're constantly being evaluated. You're not just having a conversation, you're also translating, checking grammar, and worrying about pronunciation all at the same time. That's exhausting. Third, there's the fear of rejection. We're social creatures, and the possibility of being dismissed or ignored triggers deep emotional responses. Nobody wants to feel invisible or unwanted. Here's what you need to understand. These fears are completely normal. Even native English speakers experience them. The difference between confident communicators and nervous ones isn't that confident people don't feel fear. It's that they've learned to act despite the fear. Think of confidence like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every conversation you have, no matter how small, is a workout for your confidence muscle. And just like going to the gym, the first few sessions are the hardest, but it gets easier with time. Part 2. The foundation, shifting your mindset. The first and most crucial step to confident conversation is changing how you think about social interactions. Let me share some powerful mindset shifts that will change everything for you. Mindset shift number 1, from performance to connection. Stop thinking of conversations as performances where you need to impress people. Instead, view them as opportunities to connect. When you meet someone, your goal isn't to be the most interesting person in the room. Your goal is simply to create a pleasant exchange of ideas and energy. This takes enormous pressure off your shoulders. Mindset shift number 2. Embrace imperfection. If you're learning English, you will make mistakes. You might mispronounce words, use incorrect grammar, or struggle to find the right expression. And you know what? That's absolutely fine. Native speakers make mistakes too. They use and they forget words, and they sometimes say things that don't make sense. Perfection is not the goal. Communication is the goal. In fact, showing vulnerability can actually make you more likable. When you laugh at your own mistakes or ask someone how to say something correctly, you're being authentic, and people respond positively to authenticity. Mindset shift number 3. Curiosity over self-consciousness. When you're nervous in a conversation, you tend to focus inward. You think about how you look, how you sound, whether you're saying the right things. This creates a feedback loop of anxiety. Instead, shift your focus outward. Become genuinely curious about the other person. What's their story? What do they care about? What can you learn from them? This simple shift from self-consciousness to curiosity is transformative. When you're truly interested in someone else, your anxiety decreases dramatically because your attention is no longer on yourself. Mindset shift number 4. Everyone is a potential friend. Approach new people with the assumption that they're friendly and open to conversation. Most people are actually pleased when someone takes the initiative to talk to them. They might be feeling just as nervous as you are. When you assume the best about people, you project warmth and openness, which naturally draws people to you. Part 3. The practical techniques. Opening conversations. Now let's get into the practical how-to. Starting a conversation is often the hardest part, so let's tackle that first. Technique 1. The situational comment. The easiest way to start a conversation is to comment on something in your shared environment. This requires no preparation and feels natural. For example, if you're at a coffee shop, you might say, "This place is always so busy. Have you been here before?" If you're at a conference, you could say, "That last presentation was fascinating. What did you think?" The key is to make an observation and then ask a follow-up question. The question invites the other person to engage, turning your comment into a dialogue. Technique 2. The genuine compliment. People love genuine compliments. Notice something specific about the person and mention it. "I love your watch. Is there a story behind it?" Or, "Your presentation was really clear and engaging. How long have you been working in this field?" The important word here is genuine. Don't force compliments or make them about physical appearance with people you don't know well. Focus on choices they've made, things they've created, or skills they've demonstrated. Technique 3. The common ground opening. Look for something you obviously have in common with the person and use that as your starting point. If you're both at a dog park, talk about dogs. If you're both in a language learning group, talk about language learning. If you're both waiting in the same line, talk about whatever you're waiting for. Here's an example. "I see you're reading a book about design. I'm actually trying to learn more about that myself. Is that book helpful for beginners?" Technique 4. The direct approach. Sometimes the most confident move is to be straightforward. "Hi, I'm Sarah. I don't think we've met before." This works especially well at networking events or social gatherings where meeting new people is expected. Follow your introduction with a simple question like, "How do you know the host?" or "What brings you to this event?" Practice phrases you can use. Let me give you some ready-to-use phrases that work in various situations. "Excuse me, do you know if..." "I couldn't help but notice. What's your experience with..." "This might sound random, but..." "I'm new here. Could you recommend..." "I'm trying to improve my English. Would you mind if I practice with you?" That last one is particularly powerful if you're a language learner. Most native speakers are happy to help and impressed by your initiative. Part 4. Keeping the conversation flowing. You've started the conversation. Great. Now what? How do you keep it going without awkward pauses or running out of things to say? The art of active listening. The secret to great conversation isn't talking, it's listening. When you truly listen to someone, conversation flows naturally. Here's how to practice active listening. First, give the person your full attention. Put away your phone, make eye contact, but don't stare intensely. That's uncomfortable. A good rule is to maintain eye contact about 60 to 70% of the time. Second, show that you're listening through body language. Nod occasionally, lean in slightly, and use small verbal acknowledgments like, "I see," "Really," or "That's interesting." Third, listen for keywords and emotions. When someone is talking, they'll often drop hints about what matters to them. They might mention a hobby, a challenge they're facing, or something they're excited about.
Pick up on these cues and ask follow-up questions about them. The power of follow-up questions. This is where many conversations die. Someone shares something, and instead of digging deeper, we change the subject or talk about ourselves. Don't do that. Instead, ask follow-up questions. Let's say someone mentions they just came back from a trip to Japan. A weak response would be, "Oh, cool, I've never been there," and then changing topics. A strong response would be, "That's amazing. What was your favorite part of the trip?" Or, "I've heard the food there is incredible. Did you try anything you'd never had before?" Here are question frameworks that keep conversations going. Tell me more about. How did you get into that? What was that experience like for you? What do you enjoy most about? That sounds challenging. How did you handle it? Notice that these are all open-ended questions. They can't be answered with just yes or no. Open-ended questions encourage people to share stories and details, which gives you more material to work with. The Ford method. When you're stuck and can't think of what to talk about, remember Ford: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Family doesn't mean you need to ask personal questions. It can be as simple as, "Do you live in this area?" or "Where did you grow up?" Occupation is natural territory. "What do you do?" is a standard question, but you can make it more interesting, like, "What does a typical day look like in your job?" Or, "What's the most interesting project you're working on right now?" Recreation is about hobbies and interests. What do you do for fun? Are there any shows you're watching right now? Do you have any hobbies you're passionate about? Dreams are about future plans and aspirations. What are you looking forward to this year? If you could travel anywhere, where would you go? What's something you've always wanted to try? Finding balance in conversation. Good conversation is like playing tennis. You don't just hit the ball and keep it, you hit it back and forth. Share something about yourself, then ask them a question. They share, you respond with your related experience, then bounce it back to them. Be mindful of not dominating the conversation, but also don't be so passive that the other person feels like they're being interrogated. Aim for a roughly equal balance, though it's fine if one person talks more if they're telling an engaging story. Part 5. Handling difficult moments. Even confident communicators face challenging moments in conversation. Let's talk about how to handle them gracefully. When you don't understand something. This is especially relevant for English learners. If someone says something and you don't understand, don't just smile and nod. That can lead to confusion later. Instead, politely ask for clarification. "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat it?" "I'm not familiar with that word. What does it mean?" "Could you explain that in a different way? I want to make sure I understand." Most people will appreciate your honesty and will be happy to clarify. It shows you're engaged and genuinely interested in understanding them. When there's an awkward silence. First, understand that brief pauses in conversation are normal. They're not failures. You don't need to fill every second with words. Sometimes a moment of silence is actually comfortable and natural. However, if the silence stretches too long and feels awkward, here are some ways to restart. Call back to something mentioned earlier. "You mentioned earlier that you're into photography. How long have you been doing that?" Introduce a new topic. "So, I've been meaning to ask, what's your take on?" Acknowledge the silence with humor. "Looks like we both went quiet at the same time, so tell me." Share an observation. "I just noticed. What do you think about when you make a mistake?" You will make language mistakes. You might use the wrong word, mess up grammar, or mispronounce something. When this happens, here's what to do. Acknowledge it briefly if necessary. Correct yourself if you can, and move on. Don't dwell on it. For example, I went there, not goed there. Sorry, still working on my irregular verbs. Anyway, it was an amazing experience. Using a little humor shows confidence and self-awareness. It actually makes you more likable because you're showing you're human and not taking yourself too seriously. When the conversation isn't going well. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, a conversation just doesn't click. The other person might be having a bad day, they might not be interested in talking, or your personality simply might not mesh. And that's okay. You're not going to connect with every single person you meet, and that's not a reflection of your worth or your communication skills. Recognize when it's time to gracefully exit a conversation. You can say something like, "It was nice talking to you. I'm going to grab a drink." "I don't want to take up too much of your time. Enjoy the rest of your day." "I should probably mingle a bit more. Great meeting you." Part 6. Body language and non-verbal communication. Your words are only part of the message you're sending. Studies suggest that up to 93% of communication is non-verbal. Let's make sure your body language is working for you, not against you. Posture and presence. Stand or sit up straight. This doesn't mean being rigid or military-style stiff, but rather maintaining an open, upright posture. Good posture doesn't just make you look more confident, it actually makes you feel more confident. It's a feedback loop. Keep your arms uncrossed and your body turned toward the person you're talking to. Crossed arms can signal that you're closed off or defensive, even if that's not how you feel. Facial expressions. Smile. A genuine smile is one of the most powerful tools in your communication toolkit. It makes you appear approachable, friendly, and confident. Practice smiling with your eyes, not just your mouth. That's what makes a smile look genuine. Match your facial expressions to the conversation. If someone is sharing something serious or sad, a big smile would be inappropriate. Show empathy and emotional awareness through your expressions. Eye contact. We mentioned this earlier, but it's worth emphasizing. Eye contact shows confidence and interest. However, cultural norms around eye contact vary, so be aware of your context. In most Western cultures, regular eye contact is expected. In some other cultures, prolonged eye contact can be seen as aggressive or disrespectful. A good technique is to look at the person's eyes for a few seconds, then briefly glance away, then return your gaze. This feels natural and prevents the uncomfortable stare. Hand gestures. Using hand gestures while you speak is natural and can actually help you express yourself more clearly. It makes you appear more animated and engaged. However, be mindful of not being too wild with your gestures, which can be distracting. Keep your hands visible. Don't hide them in your pockets throughout the conversation. This creates a sense of openness and honesty. Personal space. Be aware of personal space boundaries. In most contexts, standing about an arm's length away from someone is appropriate. Too close can make people uncomfortable. Too far can make the conversation feel cold or disconnected. Pay attention to the other person's cues. If they step back, you might be too close. If they lean in, they're engaged and comfortable. Part 7. Building long-term confidence. Confidence in conversation isn't built overnight. It's a journey that requires consistent practice and self-compassion. Here's how to build lasting confidence. Start small and build up. Don't pressure yourself to become a social butterfly immediately. Start with low-stakes interactions. Say hello to your barista. Make small talk with someone in an elevator. Comment on something at the grocery store. These micro-conversations are practice rounds that build your comfort level. As you get more comfortable, gradually increase the challenge. Strike up longer conversations. Approach people at social events. Join clubs or groups where you'll regularly interact with others. Reflect on your successes. After social interactions, take a moment to reflect on what went well. Did you make someone laugh? Did you learn something interesting?
Did you successfully start a conversation? Acknowledge these wins, no matter how small they seem. We tend to focus on our mistakes and ignore our successes. Reverse this pattern. Keep a journal where you note positive social interactions. This creates evidence that you're capable and helps rewire your brain to expect success rather than failure. Embrace a growth mindset. View every conversation as a learning opportunity. If something doesn't go well, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Rather than, why am I so bad at this? This shift from fixed mindset to growth mindset is powerful. You're not born with a fixed amount of social skill. You can improve, you can learn, and you can grow. Every conversation is data that helps you improve your next one. Find your people. Not all social situations are created equal. Some environments will naturally feel more comfortable to you than others. Maybe you're great in one-on-one conversations, but struggle in large groups. Maybe you thrive in structured settings like classes or clubs, but find casual parties challenging. Identify where you feel most comfortable and seek out those situations more often. Success breeds confidence, and confidence makes you more willing to step outside your comfort zone later. Embrace self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. If you're learning English and trying to build social confidence simultaneously, you're doing something genuinely difficult. Give yourself credit for trying. Don't beat yourself up over mistakes or awkward moments. Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a good friend, with encouragement, understanding, and compassion. Part 8. Special tips for English language learners. If you're using conversations to practice English, here are some specific strategies that will help you improve while building confidence.
Tell people you're learning. There's no shame in saying, English isn't my first language, or I'm still learning, so please bear with me. This actually works in your favor for several reasons. First, it sets appropriate expectations. Second, native speakers often slow down and enunciate more clearly when they know you're learning, which helps you understand better. Third, it shows courage and humility, which people respect. Learn conversation fillers. Native speakers use certain words and phrases to fill space while they think. These are called fillers, and learning them will make your English sound more natural. Examples include, let me think. That's a good question. Well, actually, to be honest. These phrases buy you time to formulate your thoughts and make your speech flow more naturally. Focus on communication, not perfection. Your goal in conversation should be to communicate your ideas, not to speak perfect English. Native speakers will understand you even if your grammar isn't perfect. They care more about connecting with you than about your sentence structure. If you get stuck on a word, try explaining it in a different way, rather than staying silent. For example, if you can't remember the word siblings, you could say, my brothers and sisters. Communicative competence is more valuable than grammatical perfection. Use conversations as learning opportunities. When someone uses a word or phrase you don't know, it's okay to ask about it. What does hit the nail on the head mean? Or, I've heard people say kind of a lot. When do you use that? People generally enjoy explaining their language, and you're adding to your vocabulary in a natural, contextual way. Record yourself, with permission. If appropriate, consider recording your conversations or recording yourself practicing conversation scenarios. Listening back helps you identify areas for improvement and also lets you hear your progress over time. Conclusion: your confidence journey starts now. Let's bring everything together. Talking to anyone with confidence is a skill that combines mindset, technique, and practice. It's not about being the loudest person in the room or having the perfect words for every situation. It's about being genuine, being curious, and being willing to put yourself out there despite fear. Remember the key principles we've covered today. Shift your mindset from performance to connection. You're not trying to impress people, you're trying to engage with them authentically. Use practical opening techniques like situational comments, genuine compliments, and finding common ground. Starting conversations gets easier when you have go-to strategies. Keep conversations flowing through active listening, follow-up questions, and finding balance between sharing and asking. Handle difficult moments with grace. Don't fear mistakes or awkward pauses. They're normal parts of human interaction. Pay attention to your body language. Stand tall, make eye contact, smile, and use natural gestures. Build long-term confidence through small steps, reflection, growth mindset, and self-compassion. And for English learners, remember that your language journey and your confidence journey support each other. Every conversation is simultaneously practice for your English and practice for your social skills. Here's my challenge to you. Within the next 24 hours, start one conversation with someone new. It doesn't have to be long or profound, just practice taking that first step. Say hello to a neighbor. Compliment someone. Ask a question. Make that micro connection. Then build from there. One conversation at a time, one day at a time, you'll find yourself becoming more comfortable, more fluent, and more confident. The person you're capable of becoming, the confident communicator, is already inside you. You just need to give that person practice and permission to emerge. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you found this lesson helpful. Remember, confidence isn't about never feeling nervous. It's about talking to people anyway, despite the nerves. You've got this. Now go out there and start connecting. Good luck and keep practicing.